Yang sering kesepian, kenapa? Di mana kata-kata manis cinta terlalu singkat, terlalu pantas.
Welcome. I'm Dr. Abha, here for another installment of Culinary Karma. We're going to make Aloo Parantha today. Aloo means potato, and Parantha is a whole wheat Indian-based bread that's made on a griddle. And I remember eating this on a Sunday for brunch. It's quite heavy, exceptionally satisfying. It's a North Indian, generally lunch item that one prepares that offers a lot of heft. So much heft that we all abscond to our bedrooms for a much needed siesta or slumber after such a heavy, delicious, decadent Aloo Parantha meal. We're going to pair it with some yogurt achar, which is a pickle that's very common in Indian cuisine, and maybe even a special drink. Whenever my mom cooks, especially when she uses her hands as her tools, she delicately takes off her jewelry and she places it in a neighboring bowl. And so I'm gonna do the same. You'll notice I love my jewelry, and it really is an homage to India. The bindi as an adornment on the forehead, my nose ring, my rings and my bracelets, all an homage to my culture where such ornaments are invited. So let's get started. For Aloo Parantha today, we're gonna need whole wheat flour. There is no white flour in here. And I'm using this atta by choice. This is Sujata Chakki atta. You'll notice it's 100% whole wheat, no flour. If you occasion to go to the Indian store, you might ask them, what do you enjoy cooking with? Or ask your friends, what atta serves you well? Today I'm gonna use the Sujata brand Chakki atta. I've already put a cup in here, and that's all this is that atta. To that, I'm going to add some salt. And generally, my rule of thumb is half a teaspoon to 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt per cup of atta. So let's do that. So this is 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. I'm also going to add a tablespoon of oil. So to each cup of atta, plan on adding a tablespoon of oil. And finally, I'm going to use water. And you'll ask me how much. In order for this dough to be perfect to receive the aloo or potato, we want it to be as soft as possible. It's almost going to be a 1-to-1 ratio of whole wheat atta to water. Let's get started kneading. All right, so for that cup of atta that bore 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of oil, it also bore about 3/4 of a cup or so of water. And I created this really soft, beautiful dough. I dusted it with a little bit of my atta so that it's not so sticky, okay? And then I'm just gonna let it rest under a wet or moistened towel, all right? So that it doesn't get hard. We're gonna proceed now to the aloo part of our Aloo Parantha. Let's do the aloo. I use the Instant Pot to boil 3 large russet potatoes. So you'll see that here they are. And I set it on high for 12 minutes. And then I let it naturally pressure release. And the reason for that was to ensure uniformity of the cooking. You do not want the potatoes to be the least bit hard. So now that I've got this cooled down, fully boiled potato, I'm gonna peel it and get it ready for our Aloo Parantha.
Yang sering kesepian, kenapa? Kembalilah.
Hasde hasde mahi
Make no mistake, the flavor bomb in Aloo Parantha is going to come from the aloo, 100%. For today's video, I'm using 1 cup of atta, and to that I'm using 1 large russet potato. And here it is, nicely mashed. Let's start adding the masalas. We're gonna add about half a teaspoon of salt to this. Potatoes love salt, so we wanna be very careful not to overdo it. This is a half teaspoon measurement, and I'm gonna add about, let's start with almost a half teaspoon of Kashmiri lal mirch. I'm also going to take my ground coriander or dhania and a good half teaspoon or a little bit more of that. Let's add a little bit of ground cumin. To that I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon. And then amchur is that lip smacking dry amchur, dry mango powder. Let's go ahead and put half a teaspoon and just, about a pinch more, okay? So to this I've added half a teaspoon of salt, about half a teaspoon of Kashmiri lal mirch. I've added ground cumin, about half a teaspoon, and a little more than half a teaspoon of ground coriander. And let's get mixing.
And this is all music.
And you're gonna have music the whole time anyway. So I've added some dry spices to this aloo, but the real flavor bomb is gonna come from these aromatics. I have finely minced ginger, minced white onion. I have hari mirch or green chili that adds a real sharp, beautiful flavor. And then of course the leaf of the cilantro plant. We cook with dhania. It is our flavor essence, and I would never cook anything without it. So let's get started. I'm gonna add a nice heaping of dhania to this. My mom would say the lag, or the beauty and luster of aloo parantha, is going to come from 2 main items. The green chilies, of which I'm adding a real generous, probably about a teaspoon to a tablespoon, and you can just eyeball that. Same thing goes with the ginger. I've got a nice pinchful or handful that I'm throwing right in there, and same goes for the onions. This is at least a tablespoon of onions, and I'm going to use our favorite kitchen tool, my hands.
हंसदे हंसदे माही ने सन दो दिन चमका मारी हंसदे हंसदे माही ने 2 दिन चमका मारी जगदे ही बाग
All right, we've made our atta, our dough, and we've made our aloo mixture. And now it's time to merge these 2 partners together to create our aloo parantha. So you'll see in 1 cup of atta, I was able to make 5 bidis or pedas, and these are, my dough discs. So imagine for 1 or 2 people, 1 cup of atta will likely be ample. But if you're serving 4 people, plan on doubling the amount of atta to 2 cups. Likewise, with the 1 russet potato, I have more than enough aloo discs to merge with my dough. So 1 large russet potato for the purposes of 1 cup of atta will be perfect. Now to get started. Let's go ahead and get rolling. We're going to press this out. And you want to pick up and release. We're only going to roll this out enough in which to then accommodate the aloo. Let's take one of our pedas, put it right in there, and let's pinch it closed, almost like a dumpling. A little more atta for ease of rolling. we're gonna keep this aloo stuffed parantha a little thick. We want it to have some heft. And the softness of the dough and the softness of the aloo made for a real easy rolling process. Now we want to cook it on the girdle. The girdle is warmed up, and the way you know is you're going to take a little bit of your atta and just dust it right on the girdle. And what you want to see is for that atta to start to turn a beige color. And that's the way you know that it's ready to receive your parantha. And so you'll see that this is lifting, it's ready to be flipped. Let's go ahead and flip it. You'll see a nice kind of brown speckling going on here. We're going to achieve the same thing on the other side. And then we're going to add oil for the second part of the cooking process. Now that we've cooked both surfaces, I'm going to add a little bit of oil. Let's start with about a teaspoon, okay? And get ready to flip. And turn up the heat a little bit. Listen to that sizzle. We're going to gently compress the edges because we don't want the parantha to lift off. We're just coaxing it in the oil. And let's go ahead and flip. Look at that. That is absolutely perfect. Those brown speckles are absolutely perfect. We want it to be slightly crispy. And we have the perfect parantha. I think it's time to eat. I'm ready for Sunday brunch. I hope you are too. We just made these decadent aloo stuffed paranthas filled with green chilies and adrak or ginger, cilantro, red chili powder. So many beautiful flavors dancing within the aloo, encapsulated by our parantha, our whole wheat flour. I'm going to use my favorite tool, my fingers. I'm going to dip it in the raita, that yogurt that we created with salt and jeera. I wish you were here. It's absolutely perfect. My mouth is watering for the next bite. These are so complete and filling and delicious and soft, made with so much love and flavors hopping through my mouth. It truly is a party going on in my kitchen, and I wish you were here to join me. I have a special drink. I've got flowers, my scene is set, my taste buds are roaring, and the only thing left to do is invite you on my next culinary journey. I'm Dr. Abha. Please join me every week as I bring you to my home and we explore the wonders of India on my culinary karma.